it's on shaky ground sort of thing. And it does seem like a lot of things tie into that. But yeah, and the women ordination thing is there's like a split. There's leaders that are convinced both directions, it seems to me. What are any more thoughts on that?
Yeah,
I don't take a strong position because I feel like I see arguments going both directions, and I think there's a couple of key texts where if you interpret them a certain way. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. There's a picture right there. That's funny. That was not intentional, but that's my father-in-law, who was commissioned by the SDA General Conference back in 2014. He was commissioned specifically to answer this question, and he answered it. I read it. It's quite extensive, and it's pretty clear that I'm just gonna. I don't want to go deep into it, but it's really simple. The old covenant, everything was a shadow pointing to Christ. That's the whole point of the male lineage pointing to the priesthood. Then God is, or Jesus is the head, and then we're called to be the body now. So that means the body doesn't have any headship roles. There's no headship in our church. In the Catholic Church, they do have a headship. That is the Pope, right? That's the bishop. So they actually have a headship structure that's like the priesthood of the shadow. They also do daily mass, where they sacrifice, if you will, Jesus every single day, right? So they still do these shadow things in today, and that's clearly not what we're called to do. We're called to be more like shepherds, and that's the role. That's not a headship role. And so when you look at the new covenant requirements, everything is equal, and that's really the conclusion of his paper. And so that means the General Conference, and this is Ted Wilson knows this, because Ted Wilson has been the president since 2010, and then my father-in-law was commissioned in 2014. So this is well understood. They understand that it's biblically sound to allow female pastors. Not that we should force them, but there's no reason why not to allow it. And it's biblically sound to do ordination for women as well. There's no debate on this when it comes to the higher end academics. What the issue is, and we actually see this happening, is it is political. It's very cultural, and most of the people that don't live in the most of the SDA members don't live in the United States. So what are you going to do? Are you going to alienate 21 million members out of your 22 million? No, you just say you let the churches come to their own conclusion. So I actually think the General Conference is handling this correctly. They're just letting the Holy Spirit guide the churches. And if the churches in that location handle it, then they handle it. The issue that I've been having lately is I'm seeing a lot of members in the church specifically call it evil and a work of Satan. And that's why it's been bubbling me up, because I know the work that my father-in-law has done, commissioned by the General Conference. So I know the position of the church that's not being officially bubbled up. And then I'm hearing people calling it Satan. And there's a specific concept for that, right, in Matthew 12 called blasphemy of the Spirit. And so that's why I'm wrestling. And what has been brought to my attention while looking at this is that the same arguments against the state of the dead, the same arguments against keeping the Sabbath, are being used against allowing female pastors and ordination of women. It's actually the same type of arguments, very superficial. You take the text essentially as is without any context, and you proof text it into your belief. And they don't do that for the state of the dead. So SDAs can use character typology for state of the dead. They do it for Michael the Archangel. Like, it's like, oh, we recognize it's Michael the Archangel because why? He's the Prince of Vengeance, and he's going to come down and defeat the devil. Like this is what Jesus does. Like, these are character typologies. It's not literally an angel. Like, somehow we can understand character typologies, but as soon as you apply it to a bishop, it can't be a female. Well, it can be a deacon, because we see Phoebe, even though the role is described as male, if you look at the male role, I mean, if you look at the deacon role, it's male. But the example we're given is a female. Oh, no, but that's the exception. Apparently, that's the exception, but not the bishop in the next chapter, right next to it, where it shows the character. So somehow SDAs understand character typology until it's a bishop. And the key to this is because they think it's a headship role. Headship comes from Catholicism. There is no headship. There's only one head in the church, and that is Christ. And in the household, it's the husband, because not all men are above all women. That's not a thing. It's only the husband above the wife, right? So the woman glorifies the man in the household, and that represents what Christ has with the body. We're called to be the body. And so the reason why I bring that up is because I actually think it can dismantle Seventh-day Adventist theology if somebody looks at the arguments being used against against the ordination of women, then that means Colossians 2:16 is valid to disable or dismantle the Sabbath.
The hermeneutic is consistently applied, could be used to undermine those.
Correct. So yeah, exactly. That's 100% right, because what brought me into Seventh-day Adventism was the consistent analysis of the Bible, except for this one issue.